Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Filmmakers Life. This is a podcast that we do every other week, and I interview filmmakers about how they have built their film careers. If you need to raise money to make your films, which every filmmaker I've ever met needs to raise money to make their films,
Yeah,
you have come to the right place. Welcome to the Filmmakers Life, learning from successful filmmakers how they made their first features and beyond. So get involved with the show. And today it is my pleasure to welcome filmmaker Jacquil Constant. I hope I'm saying it correctly.
that's correct.
And so, Jacquil, thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us and our filmmakers. And the first question I always like to ask is, when did you first know that you were a filmmaker?
I think it was like the first time that I saw Malcolm X. I was probably like 15, and I was like, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to make social justice films. From seeing that film, I was like figuring out like, I want to tell stories that impact the community. So I think that was me. And just seeing everything that he went through to it kind of sacrifice himself to help his community. So that was like my first moment that was like, I want to do something like this. Then
Wow.
then being raised in Hollywood, like seeing having family friends who were like filmmakers and just seeing like that was something that was realistic, or just seeing other creative people. Those were like kind of success model me being a teenager, a young man, like, okay, this is what I want to do. Because I had other people that were going to film school around me that was like, okay, that's really a possibility. And having a real supportive Haitian mom that was like, just kind of go after your dreams.
That's awesome. When you mentioned Malcolm X, it took me back because I very specifically took the day off to go to the opening day of Malcolm X, and I was already a huge fan and of Spike Lee. But that film seemed particularly important, and I think maybe that they asked us to go on the first day, and
Mhm.
when I used to run a cinema, and we were a first run cinema, and we were part of reporting the numbers. On Monday, we would report the weekend numbers, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday numbers.
Mhm.
And back then, when I was doing it 20 years ago, I don't think people understood how important it was. But today, everybody understands, whether they're a film person or not, that the box office of the opening weekend is really important. So yeah, you took me back. I even know which cinema I went to see it, which is it's not there anymore. But and then so this is so interesting. You grew up in Hollywood, California, is that right?
Yes.
I saw in one of your films it said that there are 7,000 Haitians living in California, and I lived in California for a while in San Francisco. And I used to joke that I knew all five Trinidadians who lived in San Francisco.
No,
It's just not a place that you find a lot of Caribbean people.
you don't. I mean, but I think you do if you look for them. You know what I mean? Like our Caribbean restaurants are when they have
Yes,
culture events, you find the Jamaicans, you find the Haitians, you find the Trinis.
yes.
Because one of my mentors, Buford McClure, he was a Trinidadian filmmaker. And
Ah,
so I
what
think
was
if
his
you
name?
look for your community, Buford McClurkin. So
What was your Trinidadian filmmaker mentor's name?
Buford, his name was Buford McClurkin. Yeah, he did music videos, feature films. He was an ex-NFL player. Um,
Oh,
for man. So um yeah, he was just like a great, like just telling you to give them enough, but enough where they'll take your story. I mean, little Caribbean tricks of the trade. But no, he was definitely a great mentor when I was in I was just getting out of film school. So just having, I
mm,
mean, who hired me first were Jamaican, you know what I mean, like an organization
right.
who had shoot for their They're nonprofit organizations. So that's why I feel like if you're tapped into your community, um, there's a lot of
Yes.
resources that's there for you.
How did your family wind up in Hollywood, California?
My mom, she left the abusive marriage and she moved to Hollywood. She wanted to get as far as she could get from Brooklyn. So I think she tried to stay in Miami for a year, but it was too familiar. So I think LA, she wanted to be in another big city. Um, so that's how I
That's
got it.
so
Yeah, I got here when I was
interesting.
like 5 or 6, and she chose to come to LA, to Hollywood in particular.
That's how I ended up in California, actually, because I moved away from my family and my very violent father. And I just had to get away. So I picked San Francisco.
Exactly.
I wonder if that's how a lot of Caribbean people end up in California. I hadn't heard anybody else with that particular story.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think California gives you another place to recreate yourself.
Yes, yes,
And there's so many different opportunities professionally. And I think most Caribbeans, California is the second place that they've been to. They've been in New York, Miami,
right.
Michigan, but by the time they go to California, there's just so many different opportunities. So I think that's, yeah, they're leaving something and they want to recreate themselves. So I think
Yes,
California definitely fits the bill.
that's right. And absolutely true. And, I was told about this book and I feel as though I had a copy at one point, but now I can't find it. And it was literally called something like Caribbeans in California. And
Yep.
I looked for it recently and I couldn't find it. But part of the premise of the book is that a lot of Caribbean people who end up in California move there for jobs, or they move there to, particularly to work in academia.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so what the person who wrote the book was saying was that the Caribbean people who end up in California tend to be working in these sort of high level jobs, and perhaps are not just a general cross section of Caribbean people, although Caribbean people have been traveling forever.
Right.
um but I wish I could find that book. If anybody can find it, please let me know.
Yeah, I would love that book because I remember you sent
Yeah,
me the article and I read that art. There was an article in the LA Times about like Caribbeans in LA. And it's like, yeah, you don't really, but it's true. Like we really like push for education. And I remember when I was in when I got my BA, my mom's like, "Where's your master's?" When I got my master's, she's like, "Where's your PhD?" I'm like, let me finish and let me work first. Let me get a lay of this land. But I think it was always encourage you to do better and to
yes,
be at your maximum. So I think that, like having that push all the time was just like, yeah, that's she was like, yeah, you want to be a filmmaker, you have to learn all 10 jobs. I was like, whoa, that's a lot. But she was right. Like when people would leave, you're able to carry on with the production. And she was like, you have to prepare yourself for
right,
anything that may happen. So I think that was,
right.
yep.
And so when you were 15 and you saw Malcolm X and you're like, that's it, that's what I want to do. Where did you end up going to film school?
I went to Cal State Northridge. So that's
What is
when
it
I
called?
went to college. I went to Cal State Northridge. So it's a state college in California in Northridge. Oh, I think we're frozen.
I think
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's frozen. Yeah, she's definitely frozen.
I froze for a
Yeah, but
while and I
I
missed your answer. I'm so
yeah. At
sorry. You went to film
first I
school
went to
where?
community college. I went to Los Angeles City College. Then I transferred to Cal State
Okay,
Northridge. Yeah, so that's
okay.
started my filmmaking because I remember I was in the first cinema class asked, are there any Haitian filmmakers? And the professor was like, well, this country is so poor. And I said, what does it have to do with making art? Or making film? They probably make more films because of that. And then from then I did my research and I found out about Ralph Peck and I interned for this um, Caribbean she was actually Puerto Rican that worked for Sundance when I went. My mom's graduation gift after I graduated from CSUN. It's like, you want to go to Europe or Africa? And I was like, well, I'm gonna go to FESPACO. So I went to FESPACO. It's the biggest African film festival. So I end up meeting I interned for Shari Frilo, and she let me know about like these
That
other Haitian
name
filmmakers.
really
And
rings
like,
a bell. That name really
mhm.
rings a bell. Shari Frilo.
Shari Frilo, she was a programmer, and she used to work for she worked for like PBS in Boston. So and she was
Uh-huh.
an experimental filmmaker. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is an experimental filmmaker able to have like be a film programmer, so that was
Right.
really impactful, because she asked me would first she asked me, what do you think about Sundance? And I was like, oh, I don't think it's for like, you know, filmmakers of color and all that, because I just graduated from film school. And she was like, would you like to work for me? I said, forget everything I said. Yes, you work for Sunday. I was like, then it taught me, you better know who you're talking to. Oh,
I just
so
looked her up, and she's the curator of New Frontier at Sundance. So the
mhm.
New Frontier is all the new VR stuff and all. So yeah, she's a very much beloved figure in the film world. So you got to work for her. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
got she had her house, like she was in Los Feliz and get tape. I was an intern for like 3 months, but that was like an impactful experience to um have somebody so influential in the industry, and was a filmmaker too, that was a programmer. So I think that made me, and I think she's done that to so many people that she plugged out. Because now when I'm going to the International Documentary Association, all these people she plucked at different film festivals, and she kind of mentored them. And I was like, oh, so she did that to me too. And this person, and you start seeing like this, how she just kind of like, okay, I see you at this film festival. I'm gonna see how I could have you get some experience and get some access. So I mean, that was
Wonderful.
good. I was
But I
lucky,
mean,
right
it,
place at the right time.
it's really amazing that you went from California to the film festival in Africa. She probably knows that's a great guide, because if somebody's going to have I was going to say a very British expression, the nous to get themselves all the way over there, that's already impressive,
Right.
So that's great. Mentorship, nothing like it.
Yeah.
I still am kind of shocked at the film teacher who said, are there any Haitian filmmakers?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of a level of ignorance. Because I think of I think of Haiti as having a very strong filmmaking tradition.
I think it was ignorance, and they didn't know. So that taught me not just to believe what somebody says
Yeah,
because of the position they may have. So yeah, yeah, that was like one of my first film classes, a film history class at Los Angeles City College. Then from there, then meeting somebody that told me like, what I mean, or she, what I mean, me and Sherry Furlow, she like, here's Route Pack, and here's this film on Lumumba. What I mean? Here, what I mean? And like, oh, you're Caribbean? You should have this. Like, so I think just having people that, and just seeing like, whoa, what I mean? Like, I love Spike Lee, but when I saw Lumumba, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. So that
right,
just the LA Film Rebellion, finding about Charles Burnett, just finding these cultural filmmakers,
right.
like, different film organizations human beings, they're like, oh, okay, this is what you want to do, then you should know um these people,
Not Haitian, but
these other
maybe
excellent film.
my first introduction to seeing Haiti on film was Maya Deren's movies. Um, and when I was first living in Miami, somebody or other showed 2 days, 2 full days of all of her voodoo films.
Whoa.
I don't even know if you can get hold of them.
Yeah, I actually showed them in my film class. I show there's a documentary So there's a documentary about her life, and the students are like amazed that she was a dancer, a poet, um, was kind of like the experimental filmmaker, her voodoo films, and um, it allows them to be creative and collaborate with people. So first I thought it was shocking because they had some voodoo in it, but the students liked it. So like, oh, I guess, you know, yeah, it's like no, she was definitely a tremendous inspiration, just
Yeah.
seeing that she did. Yeah.
She studied voodoo to the point that she became a priestess, is the word that they use. I'm not sure exactly what level,
Mhm.
whatever. But it's interesting you say that you found it shocking, because I think that I did not grow up in Trinidad.
Mhm.
So for Trinidadians, or for my father's generation, they would have found obia and different things like that shocking, but we don't. People who see it from the outside think of these religions that have grown out of coming from Africa and then hiding underneath Christianity and slavery. Find them absolutely incredible and amazing.
Right. Oh,
I
it's
just
definitely
Go ahead.
true. This was the religion aspect of it, but I think that was what made her work, um, her work great. And just like people that she collaborated, like the dancer that she worked for, she, she was a voodooist too. So I think in the arts, and especially, but I think with women that were a little, you got to see that. You know what I mean? They wanted to be as strong as they can be, so they tap into like their spiritual force. Like she's talking about, like, men make films in the here and now, and women are making films that they're becoming. So it's a different approach to filmmaking. You know what I mean? I look, I said, damn, because even I show it to the male students, they're like, that is kind of true. So it was like some really and she just dug really deep into
I
what
don't
she
even
was
know
studying.
what that means, but it brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
I think it's just from like almost from your spirit, right? It's like it's almost like instead of like what is tangible is what's untangible. I think that's what women are like great at, right?
Mm.
Weavers, they're great storytellers. You find your editors, you find your filmmaker, able to like bring like doing something to make the tribe stronger and not just for their own shine a lot of
Mm.
times. So I think there's a different um way that the dancing, like you notice when it's the women. I'm studying because I'm working on my Dear Mama film. And I was like, okay, if I want to make a film, I got to start watching a lot more women filmmakers. Like I have to.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
yesterday I showed the students like losing ground, and you saw, okay, there's dancing in there. You look at Dorothy Dash, there's dancing in there. And you start seeing this line of these women filmmakers. Even Maya Dare, there was dancing in her film. There's motion, there's
Yes.
movement, there's rhythm,
Yes.
there's
Right.
men use film as a way to its power. Because you got to see like film came from a military culture. So men
Uh-huh.
use they use the image in a different way than I think um women kind of dance around. They just do it in a totally different way. They're like, you want to go here, but I'm gonna take you way over here. Like, well, I meant Sherry Freeway. Oh, you don't work for Sundance, but now you're gonna go do this whole different, and you're like, oh, she took me in this whole different dance. But I learned so much from that. It was
Wow.
so memorable than than the regular stuff that people that you may intern for. So I think it's just having that I want you to do this for the future. You know what I mean? So I think I want you to become the man
Yes.
or you may not even know it, and kind of be able to really inspire your full potential in a sense, you know. Yeah, so, Alex Krabilowski, she's one of my she's a woman filmmaker that was at CSUN, and just like always challenging you to do something that was like that was different, that was you, that was authentic. and it was
Mm.
like giving you that space. You know what I mean? That space for you to make mistakes. But I think same thing. She was from New York, second generation Jewish American. Went to school in I think she went to school in Cal Arts. So very experimental, very open, but very global. So seeing that, I was like, okay, then my globing me want to do um Haitian cinema, Caribbean cinema, connecting to Francophone, that's gonna work for me. Because I
Mm.
think like having and not exactly fitting in them, but the American model with the marketing, but learning
Mm.
like the cultural aspects,
It's
are really
even
important.
It's even very unusual for me to hear a filmmaker use the term experimental film, and that's where I started. I started in experimental film. And just for people who don't know it, I think of it as art with a capital A. And
Yeah.
so, for example, sitting in that room and at Miami-Dade Community College with maybe 30, 40 people, 50 people, watching 2 days worth of Maya Deren's voodoo material, that maybe hasn't been screened, very many places. You might see video at a museum, you might see video in an art gallery, but it's art that belongs in the same world as painting and sculpture, and doesn't necessarily fit in a cinema. That's how I would. I mean, that's a very generic way of describing it, but
No.
it
And how do you make it? And how do you package it that it does fit? Because it's part of one of cinema's childs. Like documentary that's a child of cinema,
yes.
experimental. But I think it's like yeah, experimental, like yeah, because I was in the art department. So that's why I pushed. Like I was in video digital arts. I came
Yes.
from film, then I went to video digital arts, where it was like you had to be like stretch because you're learning old like philosophy from the 1800s. You're like, you know what I mean? So I think being in that environment, and it was during the after the earthquake when I did my thesis film, Haiti's a Nation of Artists,
Mm.
that I got to see like, oh, because you had to shoot every week. Then one of my professors, um, um, he didn't give you any equipment. So it was totally different than when you're in a film program where you only shoot every 3 months. You had to shoot every week. So you
Wow.
got to develop your aesthetic a lot faster. And you didn't
Yes.
take any to see like this needs to be up here on Monday or whatever by 11 o'clock. And you need to go shoot this 1 minute. It was like, so I think that got you more ready for like an entrepreneur journey and having your aesthetic. And so I think that was like a great training ground.
I'm amazed that Haiti is a Nation of Artists was your student thesis film, because it's a very polished and sophisticated film, and it opens with a question that has been on my mind, I would say, for decades, and I haven't necessarily articulated it. But can you tell everybody what the question is of the film? What is the film answering about that?
I mean, it's like, what's the power of like Haitian art? You know what I mean? For me, it's just like to show in a different way the multiplicity of it. Because I think sometimes when people think of Haiti, they think of the poverty. Um, but I wanted to show the beauty of it. Then I realized I had to do that because being Haitian American, knowing Corinne Fabrice that has a gallery out here. She went to New York, went to Miami, and she has a gallery out here for like 40 years, I think 30 years now. So just
Well,
being around.
what I meant was that the opening question in the film is, why does Haiti, of all places, have so many artists?
Oh, okay.
That's, to me, this question that I'm like, why is that? Why
Yeah.
is that Haiti, of all places, would have, its own aesthetic that doesn't exist anywhere else? Why? To me, these are questions that I'm just like, how is that possible? And so your film is like looking at that question and answering that question.
I
And
miss,
I'm not sure I knew the answer by the end of the film, but still, you know, it was,
yeah, I think it was it's the history, is having independence over 2 years ago, 200 years ago.
um,
It's the mixture of culture from the French, the Tanos, the all that, and in blending their arts, and the Africans not having a way to communicate, but art became a way for them to communicate with each other. So I think those were all the things that manifested this brilliant art that we have, out of Haiti. And when you go to a lot of the Caribbean islands, it's Haitian art that's selling. Even if it's said to Puerto Rico, it's they're selling. You go to Turks and Caicos, it's still a Haitian that's selling that. you know so I think it's just, and it's the pride of being the first Black independent nation, and
yes.
and just the gall, um so I think it's just, and you find Caribbeans to be very, very proud of their culture, but I think particularly in Haiti, when you have these like the beginning presidents, they made sure they at the first they had art schools very early on in like 1902, like with Henry Christophe. He hired like English painters to, I mean, that's the way that you showed your nobility and you're on the world stage, just through your art. So
Right.
they started art schools to train Haitians, so the Haitians were able to learn um and create their own like amazing artists. So I think they were very forward thinking. What I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we have to
Back,
let people know about us.
back then, was it 1804 Haitian independence?
Yes.
Yes. So back then, when I just started watching a series about
Hmm.
Benjamin Franklin. So I
Hmm.
guess anyway, but if you were wealthy in that time, then art was you just use the word nobility, right? Art
Right.
was a part of your noble life. So even women who were not participating in culture and society in certain ways, they
Hmm.
were taught needlecraft and sewing and painting and all of these different things. So art was part of being wealthy. And so the aspiration of slaves who become free would be to be noble in that same way. That really makes a lot of sense.
Yep. No, it makes a lot. Yeah, like you want to show. Hold on one second. Okay. Electricity. Um, can you repeat the question again?
No, I was just saying that. No, I was just thinking about the idea that when the revolution happened, that having art would be part of what you would aspire to
Yep.
as having a noble life. Art is just part of that life. And then it's also, maybe we understand it more now. I'm not sure how they would have talked about it then, but there's only representation of wealthy people.
Yes.
Poor people don't get represented in art. Certainly up until 1804, there was very little representation of poor people in art. So I think both those things could have been happening.
And you got to see, these were like Henry Christophe came to America, and he helped with the Battle of Savannah, and I think um these Haitian leaders saw like they're helping America, France get their independence. They're like, well, we need to get our own independence. We can't be, you're just calling us to fight everybody, these wars. And I
Right.
think in the literature too, like they were like they wanted to be independent. So I think it was like they were reading those Toussaint was reading those revolutionary books. So I think that was something, and they wanted to be, and some were king, they wanted to be free. So I think art and liberation just kind of goes hand in hand. And they want to show it, like even you'll see like, Hawaii, like before it was, I mean, the same thing, they would have like this art that would show that they're empowered. I think that's how people in the early 1900s, they communicated their power and influence. And you think people still do that now? Whenever
Yes.
you see wealth, it's always connected with art.
Yes.
You know, even if it's a cartel, they'll have art, you know what I mean, to let you
Right.
know that they've arrived, or they have their leaders, their revolutionary leaders. So I think that's something that's always been about anybody who moves up the social economic status. They
Mm.
always have some type of art, and that was probably something I got from my mom, that, you know what I mean, maybe she had statues, she always had some type of black art or prints. Like it was always something to aspire to be better. So I think like you know, I think it's really important that you have the art. And I think like with Basquiat, his mom like took him to the museum when he was little. My mom took me to the museum when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, like she wants you to see um either it was European art or it was other art. She just wanted to wants you to expose you to the world, I think. So you didn't feel like you were not a part of it. And that's why I try to do with my students the same thing. Like, look, you're part of this canon. Now you're a filmmaker, you have something to say. Don't feel so separate that you're outside of it. You're part
Mm.
of it if you're willing to learn, you're willing to experiment and make a contribution in a sense to show. I mean, I think that's the highest thing of, I can see they become proud when they're like, I created something that was in my brain. And I think that's the film bug, actors bug, programmers bug, when you have something you have in your mind and now it's like, you know, it comes to life.
Yes. What do you think pointed you in the direction of documentary? Why did you pick that direction?
I felt like it had one of the realest storytelling, and there wasn't so many people that had hands in it. And I think because I was part of like the international documentaries, we have a Black documentary association here in LA. So just seeing that, and I think it was another filmmaker from New York was like, okay, we have this Black documentary, but we need to do this in LA. So it was another Caribbean who actually started that. So just being, oh, in my early 20s, like being around that type of environment where Black stories, you know, mattered, you know. So, and then I saw that that was really authentic, I guess, especially coming from narrative, doing short films. And I was like, whoa, but in documentary, you get to like tell your own stories with your photos, with people's narratives, with archival footage. So I think that, yeah, I started doing them when I was in college and grad school, like doing the short like documentaries for the Pan-African Study Department. I worked in marketing communication at the university, so you were interviewing the president of the university to like award-winning students to all that. So I, you know, that was in a sense like maybe more corporate cinema.
Mhm.
Uh, video. So I guess being part of that and seeing how the institution tells stories, you know,
Ah,
learning that, then kind of applying that to like my community in a sense, you know, like you never really see like the Haitian American or Caribbean community or other um communities of color shown that way. So that's the clients I would like, okay, like I know you're successful. No one's really showcasing you as a business owner, or no one's really showcasing you've been doing work for 30, 40 years. So what I call, I'll do your like your legacy video, you know? So I
right.
think yeah, just transferring. I think I'm a good translator. I'll be in certain spaces. Then yeah, I think that was just really important of like the documentary is so strong and has a long history, you know? So I think that's, and I think I'm already an academic. I read a lot. So I just fit in there. I think I
Yes.
wanted to do commercial stuff, but I found out, and I did reality for a little while. I love New York Flavor Flav, and I was like, you know something, I like this, but I want to do something that has a soul,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that I could leave my imprint on. And I fell in documentary and what narrative I could do that. But if you do like a music video, it's like you're like a work for hire. It's like a different, you know, your aesthetic is out. But I think with documentary, you like your soul, your essence is in that work.
It's I had a brief experience in the reality world, and one day I'm going to write a book about it or make a film about it, but never wanted to go back.
Yeah, I did it for 3 years and I was like, yeah. And I think a lot of people who've done reality or a lot of them like run film festivals, they do something else because I mean it's like 70 hours a week. It's a lot of time. Then it's if you're conscious, it's very hard because you already know you're doing things that is
Ooh,
not giving people the best, essentially. So I
ooh.
think it really messes with your consciousness. So that's why I think I feel better as a human being in talking and teaching
When
than
I got the job, they gave me a contract. It was about 15 pages, this contract, and on the front page it said a couple of things like my name, address, whatever.
yeah.
And then the rest of the contract basically said, if this happens, you're not covered for that. If this happens, you're not covered for that. If this happens, you're not covered for that. 15 pages later, got to the final page of the contract and it said, anything we haven't thought of, you're not covered for that either. And I laughed out loud when I saw this contract.
Yeah.
But I did my one job in reality. And I worked with people who that was their entire career, people who are still doing it, people who are signing contracts like that
Yeah.
every day. The
It,
way that human beings are being treated in America
yep.
is unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, that's a nasty, nasty business.
It's very non-union. It's very exploitative.
Yep.
I meant from like husbands to wives. It's crazy. You know, when you're in it, you're like, how can people even their celebrity, you just see how the business on that end can be can could definitely be something that you don't want to be around in a sense because you're right, the only person they pay is the host, everybody else is free, and they make them sign contracts where um they're not responsible for anything. And I think if being Caribbean, like, whoa, you're not everybody, it's not me, and you're making all this
Yes.
money to send this film to the UK and overseas. And so I think just seeing that as a filmmaker, it was like, whoa, I don't want to be in the industry where you know what I
It's the
mean? And I
wrong
feel with music
direction.
videos. So, yeah, in that direction. But it was,
This is
I
the
mean,
wrong direction.
it's the wrong direction. Yeah, it's non-union work and you don't get any benefits later. And it's like, I might as well go into academia, you know? Why
So
have some?
what I see with all the filmmakers that I get the privilege to interview is that there's a way of putting together a sustainable career, you know, that works. And so it sounds to me as though you're like everybody else I've interviewed, where you kind of go down here, you go down here, you go down here, and then and then make your own picture, and every picture is completely different, you know. So you
Yeah.
were doing the corporate cinema, as you called it, at the university, having clients, and then did you eventually go into academia, or was it all at the same time that happened?
I think because since I was already working at the school,
Right.
and I was a grad student at the school. I mean, but I looked at models like for other Black filmmakers, and a lot of them, that was their pattern. They
Uh-huh.
worked at the institutions. Then after that, they had enough. They had essentially you had your portfolio,
Yeah.
and you worked at some place for 2, 3 years to really get your chops up. So I think that like that training ground was very, what I mean, coming from reality before that, where you
Mhm.
weren't given chances to like work and create. And then when you get in academia, like, what do you want to create? What commercial you want to create? Just create it. I was like, whoa, this was like night and day when you're in an environment where it's just like, just get coffee and that where you can use your artistic abilities. So I think, but one thing I saw there was like golden handcuffs too. You could be there 3 years and not produce anything for yourself. So you
Right.
had to go back in the documentary. You had to go back in the artistic field So I think after when I graduated, I was like, okay, these skills that I learned, now I want to translate that to, I started the film festival. I started the Haiti International Film Festival, and my film had me travel, all of New York, Miami, Haiti, um, as a short, but I was like, I need to go back, and I went to Haiti 4 times and actually finished the feature that you have now that's 50 minutes. Um, so I just having that, and,
What is
and there
that?
was a general. Mhm.
Which film is that you're referring to?
Haiti's a nation of artists.
Haiti's a nation of artists. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was like, yeah, I think then it was a couple years after, yeah, right when I graduated in 2014, I worked for I think one of my friends called me, and I worked for the at-risk after school program teaching film production. He called me
Mhm.
right when I graduated. So I was like, okay, when I get back, I'm interviewing this artist in New York, this Haitian artist, and waiting for me. And I came back, and that started my so when I got interviewed a year later at Pasadena City College, I already, I checked all the boxes. I was um TA. So I did all that stuff. I taught at a high school, but I knew I wanted to do college. I said, okay, there's going to be part of the experience of having you ready when the opportunity, when it presents itself. So yeah, actually when I went to PCC, I ended up going to the dean. I didn't know, and giving him my resume, and he called me back in a couple weeks. But I kind of learned that there was this poet Sonia Sanchez, when she was looking, she went to like this school in the South, and they're like, I have Sonia Sanchez in the actual office, the dean, and she hired her right on the spot. So it was like, because at that time you send your resume everywhere, nobody was responding. I said, okay, then I'm just gonna go, and yeah, I end up, speaking to the dean, and he interviewed me a couple weeks, and then yeah, I got hired from there.
And was that still with the teaching at-risk youth, or was that
That was me, like, actually teaching at the college after I finished
okay?
that, because I
Okay. Oh,
realized
after
after
you
that,
finished teaching the kids, yeah.
after I finished teaching them, then I realized that I was working on the film festival, and I felt like in that environment with the at risk, um yeah, like the administration, when I had to ask them, could I take the kids to see Selma, and they're like, no. And I was like, what? Like, I'm teaching students of color, and I have to explain to you, and you are of color too. Then I was like, I don't. This is not the place I need to be.
Right.
I might as
It's
well focus on my art.
interesting. That's
So
so interesting that you say that, because part of my journey was I worked with at-risk kids. I did a program here. There's a school here, and I did a program with them where we made PSAs for other teenagers, and it was a school where if you had been kicked out of every other school, this
yep,
was the last house on the block. And the kids there, and you would know these kids, but they were not allowed to go to school that day because their dad wanted them on the truck to go work, or they couldn't go to school that day because they needed to stay home and take care of the baby, or the dad didn't want them in school anymore because they were supposed to be now in the gang properly.
yep,
And there's a film that was a big winner at Sundance. Was it this year or the year before, called Radical?
mm,
And it's about a school in Mexico that was the worst performing school in Mexico. And this
yeah,
teacher comes along with this radical educator, but you have to see it because it's those kids, you know,
yeah.
those
That's
kids.
what I taught at the when I was in college too. It was at the Hollywood Museum. They had a after school program of kids that were juveniles who were kicked out of every school, and I was their film instructor after school, and that was my first internship when it was like in I think 99, 2000. There was like no jobs, right? So that's lucky I did that internship. That was the first place I was hired because I did an internship there. But it was like changing these kids' minds. like shown, like you can go to community college, you can do some of them, they were juveniles, but they could make clothes, and most of the time they're mostly males, but when you made them compete with each other, they would like outdo the other person. So so it was like things like that, and just show them that there was culture, like other references were
Right.
like gang movies, like blood in and out. I was like, okay, I see that you're into film, but let's see some of these cultural films. Let's listen to music. Yes, it is urban, but we're gonna listen to somebody who's still an intellectual, So I think it was like being able to turn around, like see that they had different opportunities. So I think that was like, oh, I could make an impact. Um,
Yes.
I did that while I was in college, where some of my other friends were like, why are you going to do that? Why are you trying to do film? But I was like, if I have all these privileges and advantages, why don't I, share it with other young
Emily,
aspiring filmmakers?
Emily just told me she has the trailer for Haiti as a Nation of Artists to show. So I didn't realize. So let's actually show that.
Okay,
We're
thanks.
going to open it up for questions, but thank you, Emily, for letting me know. We're going to see the trailer.
Oh, I think that's the promo for the film. I gave you both. That's for the film festival.
Did you hear, Emily? That was for the film festival, not the
Yep,
film.
I'm here. Yeah, I just heard that, and it was just playing not that long ago. So let me grab the other one. I'll let you know when I'm ready, so you can keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah, before we
Okay.
show it then, what are you working on now? What's going to be your next film coming up?
Right now is we're getting the film on want to get it on public television for Haiti's International Artists. This is our second year of our film festival run. Then so that's what we're working on right now. And yeah, we've been had conversation with distributor in France that wants the film too. So just having those conversations, I think is and getting it ready for then it's a different vehicle for you to do public television than I'll say than the film festival circuit. So we still submitted to so we'll see in the fall some other film festivals that we plan. But I think the focus, because we're raising money for like sponsorship now, really trying to get the most of like the work that we put in with the film, and we've been award winning now. So we won at the Silicon African Film Festival. We premiered at Cannes Pavillon Afrique in 2022. We won at the Pan-African Film Festival in Montpellier, France, and we won at the Haitian-Dominican Transnational Film Festival last year in 2023. So now we're just trying, we applied to Ken Burns Fellowship, the Ford Foundation, and just trying to really lift the film and to get, you know, my career to like really benefit as a director, writer, producer from it. So I think
Right.
that's why I'm looking to push the film. And so that's it. And yeah, the next film is a narrative, is Dear Mama. So it's about my mom, Haitian-American immigrant who left a abusive relationship, marriage in New York, and started her life here in California and Hollywood, and raised the three of her children here. And so just showing that it's definitely a heroic story. And she started her own business. She was a psychic, caregiver. Just show the like the multiplicity, and just like of a woman who just kind of took life on her own terms. And so that's my next film. But and Haiti is a Nation of Artists, the second version, probably with women, having more women in that, and having more women who are like curators and
Mm.
artists. So that's, yeah, I think it's always going to be art and culture for me. because I think that's kind of my lane, and teaching. So I think that's me. I'm ready to like embark on, but just make sure that I get the fellowships, I get the residencies. I mean, you
Yes,
work to get this leverage. So
yes.
now that you're there, definitely be able to take your work to the next level, and really
Mm.
understand like what you like the business model, like your business model that is like 100K, that you you can hold the project, and find the right place, the right partners. So I think that's everyone. I read your book and I was like, oh, okay, that's my next film, and I do so it kind of fit. It fit exactly, like having foundations, and these are the films I want to make. So my films are able to show them like at Vassar College. They're like, how's your film able to be like at Vassar College? I said, yeah, because the last film by Haitian art was done in 1968. So I knew I had legs. So when I did the research, I was like, oh, huh?
I I'm pretty sure that we have somebody who wants to ask a question. So
Great.
uh no, yes, no, yes, no, yes.
Hey,
We're ready.
yes, of course.
Of course,
Hi.
Tatiana.
I'm like so happy I have to jump off for a client meeting.
Okay.
I'm Tatiana Bacchus. We are friends on Facebook, but have never
Okay.
formally met, so it's a pleasure to meet you. I've been loving this conversation. Can't wait to watch it again and like
Mhm.
write down everything. I think one of the things that's really cool about your journey and your process is that it's almost a roadmap for other Haitian-American filmmakers. I'm an actor turned filmmaker, and I'm 8 years in on a documentary about Haitian master painter Ulrich Jean-Pierre. And
Okay.
yeah, so yes, coming down the pipeline, I'm in post. So very excited to get this work out there into the world. Also because I knew that it would have legs because there wasn't a lot out there showing artists that are classically trained. He was trained in Haiti. It's really important that people understand he was trained by Haitian masters in Haiti. So
Yeah.
I got so much pride when Joanne was like, hey, make sure you're here. I was like, I'm gonna drop everything. So
Yeah.
I guess, my question is, knowing what you know from your journey with Haiti as a nation of artists, um, what's one thing you wish you knew before you went out and took that out to festivals? Um, and one thing that you would not do again.
Mm. I think the thing that I think a privilege that I had, since it was a short before I became a feature, so
Mhm.
I got to make all my mistakes with the short. Right. I didn't premiere it correctly with the short. I was just happy just to have my film out. But
Right.
with the feature, I was like, I want to win. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm tired of being humble. This time
Okay.
I want to make sure that it goes in the right places. And I think being an educator and studying film at that time, I looked at it, I looked at it different when I was
Mm,
like just emerging. I was
right.
just happy for the films just to be there. But now I think for the art department, I was like, I need press. I need these things that's gonna give me legs. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I need to get foundation, you know what I mean? And I think it was the way I looked at it, like now I had funds to pay an editor, or get an editor and use more of the East Coast mentality. It's like, okay, it's gonna be a couple $1,000. Can you edit this film for me, and being real, and not
Right.
being Hollywood in that sense. So I
Yeah.
think that really helped me to have the ownership that I have now, is because I was able to read, and she was my editor. She's Jamaican, she's brilliant. She's the one who like put it all together. I gave her like 20 hours of footage. I was like, I've shot it. I done. Now I need somebody to look at it with fresh eyes, and that's what I learned from the Black documentary. They're like, Jacquil, you gotta have an editor, like
Yeah.
not your editor that's your friend,
Right.
that like somebody. This is what they do.
Yeah.
Now that I know that you gave your editor 20 hours of footage, it's even more powerful to me, the opening of the film that asks this question that I just think is a great question, which is, why are there so many artists in Haiti? What is up with that? You know, it's an amazing question.
It's when you come out and when you get to Haiti, art is everywhere. Once you get off the airport, once you like, it's like in the Haitian diaspora, I've been able to interview Edward Duval Curry, and everyone was open to show the best of themselves. You know what I mean? From the music to the art. So for me, it was just, just being, and then all the Haitian artists are able to reach out to them to get their art or going to the Haitian Art Society. Like, if I need that art from the 40s, I worked on the Tom Bradley documentary. So that was the one thing I learned. She was Lynn Goldfarb, excellent filmmaker. So what I learned from her, like, get the right archival footage, get the right photos. So when I worked in the Tom Bradley documentary, I was like, okay, so I took a lot of those skills and she like, pay attention to detail. She was like, this is going to help you in your film. Okay. So
Yanatha has a question, so I want to bring him on, but so lovely as always.
Thank you.
And we could connect. I would love to.
Your friends on Facebook, she said.
I will be messaging you soon.
Definitely.
Thank you. I have to jump for my client call. Hi, Anatha. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm doing something wrong with the pins. Go ahead, Yanatha.
Oh, I know it's. Hey, it's how are you doing, Joanne? Tatiana, it's good seeing you. Jacquil, you and I've connected a few times on FaceTime, not FaceTime, on Facebook and LinkedIn, and talking about education. Yes, you talked about bringing Haitian a country of artists, a nation of artists to Miami-Dade College, and guess what? This year we were the inaugural Haitian Heritage Month Committee for the Wilson campus and all the campuses. And so next month we had a budget. So next year we'll have hopefully a bigger budget. So I'm gonna try and I'm working on not only bringing film projects that represent our culture in various ways, like you mentioned about Dear Mama and different things, but to answer that question that Joanne, I can't answer that question that Joanne asked about what makes Haiti a nation of artists, but I think it's because a rich culture of things, of just energy that comes from different spaces when it comes to visual arts, narratives, film, music, you name it. I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer, Joanne, of why we have such a nation of artists. It's just,
It's also very entrepreneurial, right? So there's a kind of, that goes, like the entrepreneurial, Yanata teaches entrepreneurship, by the way, at Miami-Dade.
Right.
But I think that if you're going to actually make a living as an artist, then being an entrepreneur is very useful.
That's the question. That is the question I was going to ask. So what entrepreneurial sentiments did you get, Jacquil, from doing the short film? Because we have another short film that we're doing called Stay With Me. I'm hoping to shoot in 15 days to lead to a full-length feature. What entrepreneurial tips and practices did you apply to get you to where you are today, especially with the most recent film that you have now?
I made sure that it was like certain things were like evergreen. I wanted to make sure that you had a Haitian artist. It wasn't me on the cover of the poster. So I think that was important. I wanted something because my thing, I want to make contemporary classics. I know I may not make 50 films, but the 4 or 5, I want to make them great. That was like always my goal. Because I'm probably a blend between Francophone cinema, but I do like the Nigerians of how they control their distribution. So I kind of took from the Anglophone model and I take from the Francophone model, because the Francophone model are mostly in small countries that they have to exhibit. They have to be in film festivals. But I like that the Anglophone model where you have the distribution and it's about the marketing and you becoming the brand. So I kind of like merged both worlds. And I think that's the kind of Haitian-American experience. Like you are part of the Anglophone and you're part of the Francophone. So I think you're able to, so those were the two things. And I think having a mom that my grandma had like a Haitian restaurant in Brooklyn. You know, then my mom was a psychic. So I'm third generation Haitian entrepreneur. So,
Right.
you know, I was the kid that was calling on the phone to make it seem like you had more clients. You know, I was like, so I was brought up with like Haitian women who were like hot, who were like really go-getters and learning, going to you know, where my mom is from in the north in Haiti, you know, very entrepreneur, very cultural. So I think like seeing those models were like I just I translate that into film. So I think like really marketing your stuff like you want to be independent, you still got to market yourself like it's like a studio. It takes 9 months. You have to like, and I think from running the film festival and just yeah, I was in an environment where I saw as being a man, seeing these women is like do this amazing stuff and we're running businesses. So it just made me like, I gotta do it. I gotta step up. So I think being in an environment that, and I think we have a lot of entrepreneur um, you know, sentiment in our culture already. I think it's really tapping into that. And yeah, just yeah, I saw the work ethic was like some of my other projects that I worked on when I had like other Haitian Americans on them. I was like, whoa, you know, it was like having that energy, having other people and other Caribbeans and filmmakers from the African diaspora, like that collaboration was like it's magic when you get people who are not pushers who are giving your creativity. Like my composer is African American. I said, okay, I can't get Haitian music, but give me jazz. You know, give me something that's going to be able to translate. It's going to be global. So like, um, I think it's really about your collaborators and getting the most as a producer, getting the most. And you're an excellent producer. I remember we talked online. I think it's just really putting that energy, but trying to make at the end of the day, you want to make great art. And that film, the short film you have, the, it's your proof of concept, so you can
Uh,
get the rest of the money to do your you know to do your feature. So that's
My,
why I looked at it.
my
And
little addition to all of this would be raise all the money first.
yeah,
Raise all the money first and then make the film, and so that you're always looking at, you know, whatever the film can bring in afterwards, although short, you know, but raise all the money first and think of that as being the motivation. I was so thrilled to hear you say, Jacquil, that you have read my book. So
yeah, I did. I remember yeah, I read it and you know, I think it was like a perfect, it's like a perfect business model for an independent filmmaker. You know what I mean? That for 100K is something that we can do. And, you know, maybe that's what I did with my film. It was like I took out 10K every year and just like kept making it better and better. And it takes us, but now I was like, I don't want to do another 8 year, 10 year. This time, I want to get the money. That's what I'm doing, I think, differently now. I'm like, okay, I want to be able to get the money, um, you know, upfront, write the grants. And that's part of what I liked about your book. That's part of your process. It makes you double down. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going after the bigger foundation money. I'm very intentional now and not just running after 10, 5,000, you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm a lot more clear and I know my value and what I could bring to the table too as a partner. So I think those things are like, as a filmmaker, once you know what is your core and your core values, then you're going to partner with the right nonprofits, the right foundations. You're going to be, because I think if you're not clear in that, you know, I had an education and that really helped me. I had an educational consultant where she just kind of like, okay, what are your core values? What are your value statements? And when I had that, then I could see, oh, I don't need to deal with that nonprofit. Our values don't even match. So I think a lot of creatives, we won't create for everybody, but how's that gonna benefit your career? You
Right.
know, you have to be intentional. I remember one time when I did do Uber, there was one guy who told, um, his advice was like, look, I know you're doing everything right now. You're running a film festival, you're driving, basically, but there's going to be a point where you specialize. Because he was building like theme parks for Disney, but just hearing that from, it's like, right. And right after that, that's when I specialized.
Uh-huh.
I honed in on the documentary. I honed in, and he goes, look, there's going to be a point where, and then, I mean, you're driving bankers. It's like that for me, it's like, when I'm in an environment, I'm letting them know I'm a filmmaker. I'm doing these, but it had me sit with people who were highly successful, and being able to talk to them for like 30 minutes to an hour, the trip to the airport, so I think that was like, but for me, I always had it like while I'm still shooting and editing, because film, you need your money to go for the trainings and all that. So I always was like a working artist all the time. Like I didn't believe in like, just don't work, I mean,
Right.
earn
I
something so
just heard from a
and have your
filmmaker
turn.
this morning who was like, well, I don't have any money and I don't work. And I'm like, I don't think that's good.
No,
That's
I mean, this
very
is an
helpful.
expensive, this is
Yeah.
a very expensive medium. And I think that's your community. When you're working, and I learned it was an actor. He goes, look, when you're working, they look out for you. They
Yes.
will tell you about the next job or the next grant, or
Yes.
they are your community. So, but when you're not working and you're not putting energy out there, I think the biggest thing is not having any movement. But when you're out there moving, you attract things to you.
That's
But if you're not moving, that's the hardest when you don't have no momentum. So
yeah.
the big thing is starting, and just, then I had a wife, so I had to. I was like, we moved to Long Beach, so I was like, I have to bring some money in. So I think having that, so I think having responsibilities,
Yes.
have to send money back to Haiti. I think those things really, like, even now, those things, like, you think they're difficult, but and I think having to do it for other people and for yourself, it keeps you inspired, because I made a promise to this lady that I'm going to be able to provide for her. I made a promise to my community that I'm going to, so now it's like, I got to raise $3,000 to have this film festival. I got to do this because now I made this promise. And mom calling you Papa Jacquil, so you're little and you're already like, you're a little man already. I think like you get older and you understand like, whoa, those things were good. I was a producer before before I even knew I was a producer. It's like having somebody having high expectations for you. It's actually a good, I think it's a good thing. So I think just
These last few minutes that you've just been talking, Jacquil, have just been fantastic.
okay.
Minutes have been fantastic. I'm going to draw us to a close. While we were talking on the phone, I noticed something going on in the corner of my computer, and there was something with balloons and things. It's my birthday today. So
Oh,
something
happy birthday.
that Google was doing that I'd never seen before was sending me all these birthday wishes while we were talking.
Great.
And I was like, what is that? What? And then I
Happy
realized,
birthday.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the Filmmaker's Life and sharing all your knowledge and wisdom. And thank you, Lloyd,
Thank you.
with us. And very inspiring for everybody, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
thank you, Jacquil. We'll be in touch. And we had a little Haitian moment here today. It was great.
Yeah.
With my clients.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thanks, Joanne, for having me on your the Filmmakers podcast. So the Filmmakers Life, and Emily, Lloyd, no,
Bye, Jacquil. Thank you, Emily, for everything. Thanks a lot.
okay.
Jacquil, I'll see you on the other side. Joanna, I'll see you on the other side as well.
Bye. Happy birthday, Joanne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Bon anniversaire. Happy birthday. Take care. Bye-bye.